So good day everyone. Today I will going to discuss the lesson 3, the intellectual property rights on the developmental and use of digital materials. So after this video, the students can identify the examples of intellectual property rights in educational settings, and also the students can define the rights, the copyright laws, and cited the consequences when copyright laws were violated. So, according to the survey of Donald McCabe Rogers, that there are 63,700 US undergraduate and 9,250 graduate students over the course of 3 years in the year 2002 to 2005 committing plagiarism. So, here are the following. That 36% of undergraduates admit to paraphrasing or copying few sentences from internet source without footnoting it. Second is 24% of graduate students self-report doing the same. 38% admit to fabricating or falsifying a bibliography. Um, Fourth is 25% of graduate students self-report doing the same. Fifth is 14% of students admit to fabricating or falsifying a bibliography. Six is the 7% of graduate students self-report doing the same. 7% self-report copying material almost word for word from a written source without citation. 8 is 4% of graduate students self-report doing the same. 9 is 7% self-report turning in work done by another. 11 is 3% report obtaining paper from the term paper mill. 12, 2% of graduate student report doing so. So when we say the intellectual property right, it is an property that protection is important in fostering innovations. Without protection of ideas, individuals will not be able to enjoy the full benefits of their inventions, and they would not be compensated for their creations. This encourages innovation without the fear that a competitor will steal the idea and or take the credit for it. So, the intellectual property rights, by the help of this, nagkakaroon na ng protection ang mga ideas, creations, and inventions of individuals sa mga taong mahilig mag-copyright without the permission of the author or without citation. So, intellectual property rights or intellectual property, according to World Intellectual Property Organization or the WIPO, refers to creations of the mind such as the inventions, literary and artistic works, designs and symbols, names and images used in commerce. So, an intellectual property right is a right held by a person or by a company to have exclusive rights over this. Internationally, these intellectual properties are protected by the World Intellectual Property Organization, to which the Philippines is one of the 191 member states. In our country, we have the Intellectual Property Office of the Philippines or the IPOPHIL, which administers and implements states' policies in relation to intellectual property. This office was created through Republic Act 8293. This act defines as intellectual property to include copyright and related rights, trademarks, and service marks, geographic indications, industrial designs, patents, layout designs, or the topographies of integrated circuits, and protection of undisclosed information. In the education setting, copyright and related rights are the ones applicable. So, intellectual property, it is a term used to encompasses a range of legal rights that protects the creations of the mind and creative efforts. Patents, trademarks, and registered designs are example of intellectual property, as is copyright. So when we say patents, it is the inventions. It protects the new inventions. For instance, patents can be obtained for new chemical compositions, pharmaceuticals, antibodies, or machineries and electronic. So when we say trademarks naman, it is an element of branding. It protects the element of branding. Most commonly take the form of brand name, example, the Nike, logos, and slogans. Possible for the shape of goods or their packaging, the colors, the moving images, or even sounds to act as trademarks. So in the design, it is the appearance of the product, like the packaging. When we say WIPO naman, or the World Intellectual Property Organization, it was established by the WIPO Convention in 1967. It is specialized agency of the United Nations that promotes the protection of intellectual property throughout the world. The headquarters of this organization ay sa Geneva, Switzerland. Copyright, when we say copyright, it refers to the legal right given to the owner of the original work or intellectual property. These works are original intellectual creations in the literary and artistic domains, protected from the moment of their creation, which include the following. So first is books, the pamphlets, articles, and other writings. Second, periodicals and newspapers. Third, the lectures, sermons, addresses, dissertations prepared for oral delivery, whether or not reduced in writing or other material form. Fourth is the letter. Fifth, dramatic or dramatico-musical compositions, choreographic works, or entertainment in dumb show. 6 is the musical compositions with or without words. 7. Work of drawing, painting, architecture, sculpture, engraving, lithographic, or other works of art, models or designs for works or art. 8 is the original ornamental designs or models for articles of manufacture, whether or not registrable or as an industrial design, and other works of applied art. 9 is the illustrations, maps, plans, sketches, charts, and three-dimensional works relative to geography, topography, architecture, or science. 10 is the drawing or plastic works of a scientific or technical character. 7 is the photographic work, including works produced by a process to photography. 12 is audiovisual work and cinematographic works, and works produced by a process analogous to cinematography or any process for making audiovisual recordings. 13 is the pictorial illustrations and advertisements. 14 is the computer program, and lastly, the other literary, scholarly, scientific, and artistic work. So copyright is it is an original expressions. This law primarily protects the original expressions in literary, dramatic, musical, and artistic works. So copyright protect it lasts for specific period of time. Once that period has ended, usually it is 70 years after the death of the creator. the work can be used without the need for permission or payment. So copyright is the form of intellectual property most commonly created and or used in the department and school. So the example of materials that protected by intellectual property or copyrights that school staffs might encounter include the curriculum materials, the textbooks and other teaching resources, the software and apps, the films, video, and podcasts. So photocopying, scanning, downloading, screen captures, performance, and um, screenings. So, when you commit copyright in the Philippines, the penalty is imprisonment for or of between 1 to 3 years and a fine of between 50,000 to 150,000 pesos for the first offense. Sa second offense naman is imprisonment of 3 years and 1 day to 6 years plus a fine of between 150,000 to 500,000 pesos. And then sa third offense naman and subsequently offense, imprisonment of 6 years and 1 day to 9 years plus a fine ranging from third and subsequent offenses. So that's all. Thank you very much.